All right, I am live at 2:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, hold on a second. Eastern Standard Time, and geez, sorry about that. Sorry about that. And that being said, folks, I just felt the need to do this. I did a bunch of research, read articles. I have them to put up for you. I will read some of them. I'll give you access to all of them. You can look them up yourselves. And here's the good thing about it. I'll get my trusty hat on first. We don't dial 911. All right, I'll be playing some video clips too, and of course I'll be putting in the link underneath for that. What's up, buddy? Here's my buddy Goku. He's 9 months old today. Yeah, good boy. Well, just had you outside. Yeah, but anyway, folks, I pulled another tick off him, and I did my fun thing with that tick. I used a lighter and blew it up. Anyway, I felt the need to do some research on this. Now, if nobody's watching live because it's almost 3 a.m. Eastern time, I understand. Please watch this then after it's pre-recorded. Please share this video and that. But I've been working on this, taking notes, did a little more organized this time. Like I didn't just want to do it on the flip. I've been pulling ticks off my dogs left and right. I have to fight, or be real nice and deal with Kakarot. He's a little bit touchy, aren't you, buddy? Yeah, you are. Goku's a little bit better about it. He tries to kind of nicely get away from me. Now, Ayla, she's easy. It's easy to see the ticks on her. I must have pulled 3 off her when I walked her. Did her exercise walk with her yesterday. Last evening, but it's easy to see him, and she's pretty cooperative. But with her white albino self, with that coarse fur that's similar to a Labrador Retriever, it's a lot easier to deal with than it is with Kakarot for sure. And even, but easier than Goku because he's so furry. He's got that long, thick hair. But this is really a pandemic to me, a true crisis. And here's the thing. I'm going to be giving some information on this. Now, I will look at this. Here's the thing. I'm going to start out with beef producers because a lot of them, they need to be aware of this, ladies and gentlemen, because it's killing animals. Now, I've seen where it's even down. I put it up there where evidently those ticks killed Tyler Wood's cat. There's a lady, what's her name? Samantha on, what the heck is that channel name? Let me see. Starkey Farmstead or whatever. Let me look. Where her German Shepherd has been having problems, but he's getting better at it. Yeah, Starkey Farmstead, that Samantha lady. Now, that being said, folks, they my dogs, to my knowledge, they haven't really had any problems with it yet that way. Hopefully they never will. We're keeping up on it as best we can. We're going to douse our area at the end of the month when we get paid. And of course, we're going to put it right on our dogs to try and remedy this situation. Now, when I say that, I'll be showing you some of this video. And it's on the Jacob Whalen YouTube channel, and I've been watching him off and on. He has a lot of good information as he sits in the middle of his yard, from what I can tell, in that white chair. But that being said, folks, in fact, I'm trying to get it up now. There we go. So that being said, no, Goku, don't bother her. Buddy, get over there. Come on. You leave her alone. Yeah, you look to be mischievous, don't you? You're still a pup. But he's been pulling ticks off himself left and right, too. It's the worst pandemic of ticks that we've known about in years. And here's how he's right on this. And I'm not going to show the whole video. I'll give you the link. I recommend that you watch them, that you thumb it up, and, that you subscribe to him. I am not subbed. As you can see, I'm going to be subscribing to him. Actually, I am, but it's under another account. But I'll need to probably sub to him here under my primary account that I'm using again. And I say that because, with all this information, and I got most of, pretty much all of the links from him to these articles. And of course, Bill Gates is involved with mosquitoes and ticks. Now, as you can see, the video, the title of my video reads, "Is this compassionate or pernicious?" And you have to make that decision for yourselves. But without further ado, let's start to play some of this stuff.
And now we've got people talking about how they're walking through the woods, finding these dead moose and stuff up north, just covered in thousands of ticks. And the mainstream narrative here is that the winters are not as cold, so the ticks survive. And that's why there's a proliferation. And it's making, national headlines. This is in the mainstream news now. They're saying that there is a 40% increase of tick-related ER visits this year. And even the mainstream media and the CDC are all saying that this is one of the worst tick years on record.
After a significantly severe tick season last year, experts are bracing for another year of this growing threat as familiar trends are being tracked.
We expect this season to be likely worse than last year, or definitely not much better.
And, when you listen to the mainstream narrative and the reason why they're saying that these ticks are exploding, to me, it does not add up, because there's more than just the one thing where they're saying that the climate's warming up and the ticks aren't dying. We also don't have as many wildfires as we used to. We don't do controlled burns. And, all that stuff definitely plays a role.
Okay. Now he continues on, and I have to agree with him because I've had that experience where he goes on to saying about the warmer climate. Last year was the coldest winter he had seen in like 20 years. I've heard many people say it. Because I'm originally born and raised in Minnesota, folks, these, of course, I've experienced winters way more severe, but that's to be expected as compared to, I think he's from Kentucky. But like last year, right before my 57th birthday, it was at the end of January, somewhere around there, into early February, we had a 5-day power outage. We had to stay at some other people's house. We didn't have good enough dry wood to keep it going. And I came down to the house here every day, probably 5 times a day, whatever it was, to take care of these dogs, take care of Deb's ESA dogs, and so on, and take care of the chickens. And then when the power came back on, we were in here, and it was cold for, I believe, 3 weeks, almost probably about a month. And yeah, we had electric heaters out of all dumb things going, and yeah, it kept us going, but it was rough. It was really rough. Now, the next part we're going to go over is mosquitoes. And this is the same thing like when I've shown on other live streams where it shows a chopper dropping a box off, and it's more than likely those ticks, whether they're Lone Star ticks, Asian longhorn. This is actually mosquitoes. I'm going to fast forward his video. Here we are. Okay. We're going to go about, it's at 12:47. So about from 12 minutes and 50 seconds to 13 minutes and 40 seconds, basically 50 seconds, we're going to listen to this.
GMO these cattle ticks. But where this gets kind of interesting is that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has already given Oxitec money, and it was to genetically modify mosquitoes. This was just a few years ago. And basically what Oxitec did, they did the same exact thing to these mosquitoes. They inserted the terminator gene, and then they released these mosquitoes in Florida and Texas. And there are videos online of millions upon millions of mosquitoes being released out of these helicopters. It's like black clouds just flowing out of these helicopters into Florida and Texas. And the intention here was to control malaria. You know, these mosquitoes breed with the other mosquitoes and they don't reproduce. And eventually the mosquito population dies off. And that in turn, like a domino effect, will lower the instances of malaria. But the crazy thing about this is that Florida or Texas had not had a case of malaria in over 20 years. Yet they're doing this to control malaria. And no more than a year after releasing these mosquitoes into the wild, there was the first reported case of malaria in the same locations in Florida and Texas that these mosquitoes were released in. Again.
Okay, there you have it. I want to point out another thing too, and I already knew this, and he backed it up. I think I can stop streaming that. I think, man, I'm looking at my notes because I wrote things down, and I had to go over 14 minutes on that one. I wanted you to hear that the malaria cases didn't come in over 20 years until the company that Bill Gates has released it to, or that he's donated money to, they didn't start getting malaria cases until these so-called sterile ticks were released within a year. But yet he's trying to prevent malaria that didn't have to worry about it for 2 decades in the first place. So that being said, folks, let me tell you something else about the part I was going to tell you where he was back talking about Bill Gates, and I already knew this too. Approximately 13, 15, 16 years ago, whatever it was, and I found it. I'm not going to play it, but TED Talks with Bill Gates defending his mosquito funding for the research. You know what he did to that crowd? He released mosquitoes in that building on them without their knowledge, without their permission or denial. The man is a eugenicist. The man wants world, he wants depopulation. He wants to do slow down human population with vaccines. I mean, I played one of those video releases on him, or where he talked about it, where we want to slow it down by 10 to 15% through vaccines. And I've always said, well, what does he mean by that? Make a man ED, or make him shoot blanks, affect the woman's ovaries to where they're they're not fertile. Who knows? Does he mean all of the above and more things than what I'm mentioning? So you have to wonder where he's coming from, folks. And here's the thing. These ticks are making people allergic to red meat from mammals. Now, that being said, it's also taking away jobs. And I'm going to share this article. There we are. I'll go ahead and start reading it. This comes from the JBS layoffs for 2026. People cut will be 1,485. JBS announced layoffs of 1,485 employees in June 12. Well, that's 5 days ago now. June 12, 2026, JBS is closing its Souderton beef plant, one of the largest in the Northwest, by August 14. The PA Warren notice lists 1,485 layoffs among USCW union workers. The company cites modernization, but the U.S. cattle herd sits at a 75-year lower rate, and JBS says the shortage lasts through 2026. Well, I went through that in another live stream I did a few days ago. Since 1951, and I think we had around 152.9 million, or was it 153.9 million American citizens then? Whereas now we have around 342.5 million. So it's going, that's a lot more severe, folks. Like it or not, it's more severe. I'm going to get rid, but you know where to find that now. If you just copy it down word for word in Google. Okay, and I got rid of that window. So anyway, I'm looking at this. Beef producers, be aware. Let me go ahead and share this. Come on. I think that's it. Yep. Now, and not this one, but when we get done with this article, I'll go ahead and get one that Bill Gates himself wrote, typed, whatever. This comes from drovers. Beef producers, be aware. Dangerous Asian longhorn tick continues migrating west. Native to East Asia, the LHT was first detected in New Jersey in 2017. Since then, it has spread to more than 20 states with recent confirmations in Illinois, Michigan, and Iowa. Well, Michigan and Iowa are one of the states directly beside my home state, Minnesota. Illinois is just barely right underneath it there if you look at the map. Oh, boy. So a lot of people I know in Minnesota will probably get it, have this issue they have to deal with. The Asian longhorn tick poses a serious threat to cattle health. LHTs carry Thalaria, which is a protozoan parasite that infects red and white blood cells. It can lead to anemia and in some cases death. Well, I put on Zach Bauer's deal on one of my live streams with that too. And, I played clips of his video on An American Homestead. I remember that. ALTHs are native to Eastern Asia, Eastern China, Japan, the Russian Far East, and Korea, but were introduced to Australia, New Zealand, and Western Pacific Islands. In other countries, it can also be called the bush tick, cattle tick, or scrub tick. In the U.S., ALHT was first detected in New Jersey in 2017. Since then, it has spread to more than 20 states with recent confirmation. Okay, I already read that. Now we'll read further than what we did the first time. According to USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, APHIS, ALHTs are known to carry pathogens which can cause disease and may also cause distress to the host from their feeding in large numbers. For example, a dairy cow may have a 25% decrease in milk production after becoming a host. A female can reproduce without a mate, I remember mentioning that before, and lay up to 2,000 eggs at a time. This can cause great stress on a heavily infested animal and result in reduced growth and production. A severe infestation can kill the animal from excessive blood loss. What does it look like? Unfed ALHTs range from a light reddish tan to a dark red with brown dark markings, while the adult female grows to the size of a pea when full of blood. Other stages of the tick are very small, about the size of a sesame seed. Adult females are gray-green with yellow markings. Male ticks are rare. APHIS reports it only takes a single tick to create a population in a new location. Okay, that looks familiar to me. Some of these ticks that I've taken off of my dogs, folks, I mean, what really gets me is they're really full, some of them. Some of them I'm able to get really soon. But the ones that are full of blood, they're still walking. They're alive. And if I let them go, they would go and lay eggs, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't dare do that. All right. Hold on. Okay. ALHTs need warm-blooded hosts to feed and survive. They have been found on various species of domestic animals, such as sheep, goats, dogs, cats, horses, cattle, and chickens, and wildlife. The tick has also been found on people. What are the health risks? APHIS says ALHTs are not known to carry Lyme disease, but they can cause tick-borne diseases affecting humans and animals, such as Rocky Mountain spotted fever, heartland virus, Powassan virus. I already know what they are, but I've got a lot to go through. All you people can look it up. Rocky Mountain spotted fever, heartland virus, Powassan virus. All right. APHIS says those diseases have not been confirmed outside of a laboratory setting in the U.S. In addition, U.S. ALHT populations can transmit U.S. Theileria orientalis Icada strain cattle sorry about that. Theileriosis in the laboratory. My tongue and missing teeth, it sometimes gets tough on me. In an Iowa State University release, Grant Duell, extension and beef veterinarian and associate professor, says cattle affected by Theileriosis will show signs of lethargy, anemia, and difficult breathing. They may develop ventral edema, exercise intolerance, jaundice, and abortions. In other words, too, it's going to affect, it can very easily affect your liver and be nefarious that way. All those signs of theileriosis are similar to anaplasmosis. Younger animals and calves often display more severe signs compared to mature cows and bulls, he says, due to anemia from both tick infestation and theileria. The risk of death can be elevated if cattle producers suspect either theileria or ALHT. Have a veterinarian collect appropriate samples and submit them to a veterinary diagnostic lab. According to an Oklahoma State University press release, under laboratory conditions, ALHT is a competent vector of numerous pathogens that can cause disease in humans, including rickettsia, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, heartland virus, and Powassan virus. Okay, look, read the rest of the article on your own. This is the title of it right here. It's by drovers, beef producers, be aware, dangerous Asian longhorn tick continues migrating west. I will unshare now. And I will get rid of that window. Now, in all of this, folks, I just, I've got a couple more articles and I will give them to you. Let me find the one by Bill Gates himself. What is this? That is, okay, I'm going to share this onto the screen. Bill Gates loves to do articles, obviously, so let's give the old eugenicist boy a chance. Is this it? Hold on. No, that's not it. I did the wrong one. Shucks. Let me You know what? We'll do this one first. Now, this is Science, Public Health Policy, and the Law. Peer-reviewed paper says genetically engineering ticks to spread meat allergies is morally obligatory. You've got to be kidding me. Oh, man, this is such crap. There's another video, too. Let me find that video. I meant to play, and I'm going to. I'm going to find it one way or another. I will find it. It's that Asian gentleman. He's talking about how we shouldn't eat red meat anymore, and it's hurting the environment. And Even he's guilty. He likes his red meat or steaks. Peer-reviewed paper says genetically engineering ticks to spread meat allergies is morally obligatory. Right. Okay, I'm going to find this. Peer-reviewed paper says. I'll find it. Says genetically engineering ticks. Genetic let me find it here again. Is morally to spread meat allergies. Okay. Oh, brother. Sorry about that. Is morally obligatory. This is such crap. What happened? Hold on. The paper says genetically engineering ticks. Okay, I'll get it. They want to spread meat allergies because it's moral. It's a moral thing to do. That's what's really getting me. I think. Hold on. Give me a second, folks. I'm having to go through a ridiculous infomercial or commercial, call it what you will. And it's not going to let me click out of this one. So. Gosh darn it. I can't believe I lost that. I don't think I can find it either. Let me look, see if I can get on my history or not. Nope. My history is not cooperating. Now, but let's continue to read. Darn it. This is by Nicholas Halsher. This is absolutely absurd. A recent peer-reviewed paper titled Beneficial Blood-Sucking argues that alpha-gal syndrome, the tick-borne condition can make people allergic to red meat, should be treated as a form of moral bile enhancement. The authors, parentheses, Western Michigan University professors, parentheses, argue that they believe eating meat is morally wrong, intentionally spreading a meat allergy using CRISPR edited ticks that could make people more virtuous by forcing them away from mammalian meat, as in mammals. I'm going to let you read the rest of this. And yes, that is completely absurd, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you it is. So, that being said, I will try to get this here. Hold on. See if I can find this. I am desperately looking. I am desperately looking for this. And I can't seem to find it. But I could try to look it up here. Hold on a second. I'll tell you. Oh, here he is. Okay, got him. Now, this is also on his channel on Jacob Wayland on the same video. I will definitely share this. You got to listen to this nonsense. There we are. Now, I'm going to start this about at 18 minutes. You're going to listen to this ludicrous explanation. Okay? And it's like he's trying to condescend to us. Oh, I don't give up my meat either. Who is that? I'll call him later. Somebody tried to call me here. So I'm not the only one up. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this moving, shall we?
And connecting the dots.
People eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption of meat, then they would it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Yeah, some people will be willing to, but other people, they may be willing to, but they have a weakness of will. They say, "Wow, this steak is just too juicy. I can't do it." I'm one of those, by the way. So but so here's the thought, right? So it turns out that we know a lot about. So we have these intolerance to. For example, I have milk intolerance. And some people are intolerant to crayfish. So possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you will become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems through human engineering.
And that brings us to the most important question of all, and ties this all the way back to the beginning where we started. And that is the question about whether or not there's any proof of these tick boxes. Is there any proof of these ticks being released into the wild by the millions? This is also where things get kind of crazy, because we know for a fact that these mosquitoes were being released into the wild by the millions.
All right, there you have it. Even though I did get this down and get some notes down and do it methodically, folks, I was kind of in a hurry and I wanted to get this info out. They've been releasing now mosquitoes, though. They've already done it in Texas and Florida, like I mentioned earlier. They're going to be doing it in California anytime soon, if they haven't already. Who knows? You see that part, though, when that Asian gentleman was talking, where it read, "Would you let Bill Gates hack your DNA?" I think, I know what my answer is immediately. But anyway, that being said, I just don't want, I want this information out so you can make an informed, decision. It's up to you, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you may be in harder circumstances. You're not able to, do as much. Deb and I, we lost our homestead. We were hijacked in the state of Florida. Maybe that's a good thing. I think about it when I was in the Panama City, Florida area there, having to wait out my time, and everybody thinks that, well, the conservatives think anyway, that Ron DeSantis, the governor, is so wonderful because he doesn't want chemicals being sprayed out into the sky, chemtrails, aerosols, whatever. Take that plane down. Well, folks, I remember stepping out, and they do this late at night when people are asleep. I'm a night owl, as you know. I'd quick run back inside because I'd see a truck coming by, and it was spraying out all that stuff to kill mosquitoes in town. I was in the Parker, Florida area, by the way, just so you know, which is one of the little suburbs or whatever you want to call it beside Panama City. You have Parker and Springfield and whatever. And that's not the only place they're doing it, just so you know. You know what? Let's go ahead and play this some more.
We know for a fact that they are currently planning to release millions upon millions of these same mosquitoes in California. We also know for a fact that Oxitec can breed up to 30 million mosquitoes or ticks every single week. And we also know for a fact that Oxitec is genetically modifying cattle ticks so that they can be released into the wild. Has there been any proof of that? Have we seen any videos like what we saw with the mosquitoes being released into the wild? That's kind of up in the air. These videos that are online, maybe they're real, maybe they're not. But we know with 100% certainty that they are creating these ticks with the intention of releasing them into the wild. So doesn't it make sense that they would be doing that? Especially considering that the first grant was given to Oxitec in 2021. So it's been 5 years now. Doesn't it make sense that they would be doing that considering they got another $4.8 million to create more of these ticks? To me, it would not make sense for them to GMO all these ticks and not release them. So we have to assume that these ticks are being released into the wild. But how do we know if these ticks are being released into the wild with Lyme disease or with alpha-gal? Because that's the leading theory, is that this stuff is being programmed into these ticks. They're carrying it and they're spreading it. There's nothing to prove that. And I don't think there ever will be. But this is one of those situations where maybe it matters and maybe it doesn't. Because the fact is, these ticks are being produced and they are almost certainly being released into the wild. And whether or not they have these diseases when they're released into the wild may be irrelevant. Because what if you release all these ticks into the wild and they become carriers? I think that's a very real possibility. And you also have to consider that if they're releasing these ticks in the same way that they're releasing the mosquitoes, and the same way that people are claiming they're releasing these ticks by the millions, then that means there are millions upon millions of additional ticks being flooded into the wild. And if there are ticks out there that already have the disease, it makes sense that it could be passed on to the other ticks and it could spread like wildfire. So maybe that's exactly what we're seeing. Maybe it's not that these people have this nefarious agenda and they're loading these ticks down with these diseases with the intention of spreading it. Maybe it's just that there are so many ticks out there that are mating and reproducing, that are passing this disease on to one another, and that is causing it to proliferate. And maybe that alone gives us all the information we need to know how to combat this and to know how to protect ourselves against it. And I also believe this gives us enough information to approach our local representatives and ask them these very difficult questions. Present them with this data. Show them the proof. Tell them that we know that these mosquitoes are being genetically modified. We know that these ticks are being genetically modified. And we demand to know if these things are being released in our state. And if they are, why don't we, the people, the ones that are affected by this stuff, have any say in it? And for the states that we know for a fact that these mosquitoes and these ticks are being released in, for example, Texas, Florida, and soon to be California, I think we should also be asking, who is giving the stamp of approval? Who is signing off on this stuff? And why isn't the public being actively informed? And why don't they have a say? Because I don't know about y'all, but I'm sick and tired of our natural environment being manipulated and altered without our consent, because no one is coming to us, the people that live and exist here, and asking us if we approve this stuff. Nobody's asking for our input. They're taking it upon themselves to claim that they have our best interests in mind. They're making the decisions for us, and they're doing what they want. And regardless of what you believe and what you think is right, we all collectively deserve to know the truth. We deserve transparency, and we deserve to know what decisions are being made on our behalf. And that is especially true when it comes to the world around us, because we all exist here. We all share this world, and we are all very much a part of it.
All right. Well, I looked up. I know my wife let me know about they're researching the black plague call it what you will. I mean, it started probably around the 1300s or so, where there's the Black Plague, the bubonic plague, off and on throughout the next few hundred years, and it wiped out a lot of people. Oh, hey, welcome to I Have Cataracts. So give me a second here. Senalian's Pride. Welcome to the channel. Please subscribe if you will. Now, that being said, folks, let me get rid of that. No, actually, I won't. I need to put that down. I need to put Waylon's channel down. And that's what I will do. I'll have to put his link in after I'm done being live. So that being said, folks, it's 30 million, 32 million. I'm looking at this Gates notes now by Bill Gates. Bill Gates typed this himself, evidently, or, basically wrote the article himself. No. Let me look. Hold on. Oh, brother. Oh, breeding 30 million. Okay. Mosquitoes. Breeding. There we are. Okay. Got it. All right. Here we are. Bill Gates himself. William Henry Gates III. Oh, that piece of trash. Anyway. Now, let's see where this comes from. Releasing hope. This factory breeds 30 million mosquitoes per week. Here's why. These mosquitoes are allies in the fight against dengue and other deadly videos. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. Dengue. By Bill Gates, published on Monday, August 15th, 2022. Inside a two-story brick building in Medellin, Colombia, scientists work long hours in muggy labs, breeding millions and millions of mosquitoes. They tend to the insects' every need as they grow from larvae to pupae to adults, keeping the temperature just right and feeding them generous helpings of fish meal, sugar, and, of course, blood. Do you people at all understand how absurd this really is when you listen to a guy talk or write a journal, write an article about how cow farts methane is destroying the environment, and he releases mosquitoes on an unknowing crowd at TED Talks. I mean, I have to admit, he sure does have a pair, so to speak. I mean, that takes balls to do that kind of stuff to people. Anyway, then they released them across the country to breed with wild mosquitoes that can carry dengue and other viruses threatening to sicken and kill the population of Colombia. This might sound the beginnings of a Hollywood writer's horror film plot, but it's not. The factory is real, and the mosquitoes being released don't terrorize the local population. Far from it. They're actually helping to save and improve millions of lives. Okay, look, here's how they do it. The mosquitoes being produced in this factory carry bacteria called Wolbachia that block them from transmitting dengue and other viruses such as Zika, chikungunya, and yellow fever to humans by releasing them to reproduce with wild mosquitoes. They spread the bacteria, reducing virus transmission. Right. And protecting millions of people from illnesses. Okay, look, reading it to myself silently is one thing. When I have to word this kind of nonsense, it just really irks me to no end. I can't even begin to tell you. It's just beyond words, folks. Now that we have a new person, and I don't know whether, called Senalian's Pride, I'll for those of you that I'm preaching to the choir, please just bear with me, folks. I've talked about this before too. Will you hold on, folks? Okay, back to the sound here, folks. I always wondered why Bill Gates on his approximate 270,000, 275,000 acres of farmland, acreage that he's bought. I always wondered why he was doing that, why he was having the trees buried. Well, I'll have to do more research on that, Senalian. Okay, just give me time. That's for a separate video. The black and bubonic plagues and that. I'll have to look into that. So my wife put it up there, how many texts up, scroll up, and I'll have to look at it. But that being said, folks, you know, I'm looking at, I was wondering, I knew there was something to that from a farmer's perspective, and it was nothing new. But when you hear it at 3 to 5 years old, well, what is that? Well, finally I found it on a YouTube channel, Stellar Eureka, I think it is. Let me look it up. Hold on a second. It's either Eureka Stellar. I think it's Stellar Eureka. Sure it is. Sure it is. It's got to be. Okay, yeah. It's right here. I will put the link in right now just for the channel itself into the live stream. Okay. A video came up, and of course I watched it. And this is, I don't know, 2 months ago. Here's what happens. In 1962, a German botanist, and I don't remember his name right now, and I think it's in I know it's in a couple of my live streams and back. Even though it looks like I only have 18, 19 videos, folks, I did over 3,000 videos. I deleted them all, was off YouTube for a few years. So please don't ask me. My memory is phenomenal, but it's not that phenomenal. It's not that good. And those other videos come to my mind too at times. But back to Stellar Eureka, that YouTube channel, a German botanist. He, in 1962, wrote a pamphlet that not very many people read, but he was resurrecting or trying to resurrect an old farming technique. And now I'm starting to use it. What I mean is I have bed gardens going already, but that being said, I have a future bed garden. I call it bed garden number 4. And I'm collecting, compost, food scraps, dog dung, other things. And what I did is I took and I put trees, tree branches. Of course, I don't have thousands of acres to do this. Of course not. But I'm using tree branches and stuff and logs that I've got a few in there on the bottom, and I'm starting to cover them up, and I'll be getting soil and buying it and putting it on top. I'll be, and when I'll start growing in that one next year to add on to the other ones. Now, that being said, it's a fertilizer. It's a natural fertilizer. And if you just look at money, well, no wonder the fertilizing companies don't want you to know about that. It gets better every year. Those tree branches or whatever, and the big trees that Gates is having put in, he can grow anything he wants. It'll be good fertilizer for like 20 years. I'll give you hold on. I got an old journal I can look at. And I'll read them. And the reason why I'm going to read it is because there are some other trees you want to avoid. It will harm. It will defeat the purpose. And I purposely wrote it in red ink and all that good stuff so I could find it more easily. Here we go. Yep. All right. Now, what the tree branches and whatever and twigs and that do is they connect and draw the root down of whatever you're growing, and it connects onto them. Whereas the root wouldn't even go that far normally, at least not that quickly. And it continues to fertilize and purify your dirt somehow in a scientific way. And you won't need you don't even need to turn your dirt over later or anything. Like I said, maybe 2 decades down the road, you know, maybe after about 18, 19 years, think about collecting some more tree branches and that. But you want to go 6 to 10 inches down in that dirt below where you are planting seeds. That's all you need to do. But the trees that you want to use, because they'll collect, let me read this. Okay, Hugel Culture, that's what it's called. And I'll type it in. That's what Bill Gates is going to be doing if he isn't already. It's a farming method, very effective, and he knows it. Hugel Culture fully embodies tilling and is biological and it does it biologically and continually. As wood breaks down, it creates microscopic air pockets throughout the mound. Okay, because your mound too, your dirt, it'll be up a little bit. You know, eventually it'll even out throughout the years. Fungal channels branch through crumbling material, earthworm, and like the earthworm tunnels, and multiplies. The soil becomes more progressively aerated each year with a single pass of a gardening spade. No spade tool is required. It's like the spade itself without you having to do it. A bed does not need to be turned nor tilled. It needs to be planted. Roots travel in any direction in loose soil. Okay, so don't pack your soil down then either. Earthworms, tunnels, and earthworms, tunnels, and fungal channels never blocked by compaction nor starved in a shallow layer baking in July heat. In other words, it doesn't matter how hot it gets, and if you're going without rain, okay, after a couple of years, you're probably not even going to have to water your garden. That, what you're doing when you're using Hugel Culture technique. Old and other roots decompose and help for new roots to grow. The trees or wood to use are oak wood. Use oak wood, apple wood, and birchwood, maple wood are good to use. Good to bury in there. However, this is what you want to avoid. Don't put in black walnut wood, black cherry wood, cedar wood, and of course, pressure treated wood. Don't use any of that. That's what I'm saying. Now, I will keep people updated. I don't start growing anything in that. I will not grow anything in that particular bed garden until next year, and I'll keep you updated to see if it works or not, and I'll be honest about it. I need to write that more. And I had a hard time reading my own writing. I'm usually pretty legible for the most part, but I think I was getting excited, wanted to read. I was almost writing it down word for word on that video, ladies and gentlemen. Let me look. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, still the Eureka. I will get that video, I think, because I've got it. It's all red. It's probably from now 3-4 months ago. Maybe. I'm not for sure, to be honest. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Okay. Okay. Copy. And live streaming. My dad and I grew potatoes inside old tires once in our front yard, and they grew. Yeah, that does work. It's a good idea, Snailians. By all means, people, if you have successes or something and want to put them down in the side chat, by all means, do it. There you go. That's a particular video on Hugo called Tour. Obviously, Sir William, that wonderful man who cares so much about us getting our vaccines so we can't bang. I probably shouldn't have said that. Yeah. Well, he obviously knows this, okay? And feel free, new people and, my old subbers to go ahead and look through all my videos, watch them all. You'll get this information rather than having to ask me to go through it. I'm doing research for current stuff, and I don't have time to look through all my stuff. I run a homestead here, so anyway, I've pretty much given you, I think. I don't want to keep reading this Jack Weasel's Bill Gates article that he published or had published on August 15th of 2022. I just don't want to do it. I've given you the information. Do with it what you will. And let me get rid of this window. There's one more to Alliance for Source. I think I may have already shared that one. I can only do so much, folks, honestly. I've also got Yahoo Finance, but I think I already showed that they're shutting down factories and stuff. AI's taking over. I did like my last couple of videos. I did some things on AI data centers and that, and the way they're ruining everything. So, good Lord, I mean, that's insane. So, all right. Anyway, there's another one too on the Garden Whisperer YouTube channel. I remembered I did watch that before. I don't think I'm subscribed to him. Maybe I should be, but I do a lot of reading with articles and stuff. I don't. I only have so much time, and folks, help me out a little bit. Oops, what happened? Okay. So that being said, folks, I can only do so much. You people are intelligent. You're critical thinkers. You're not sheeple. The ones that I have as regular subbers. And, I know you aren't just, hopefully, you can trust me, but hopefully you don't just take my word for it. You do your own research. And you have to wonder, I mean, a man who is willing to unleash mosquitoes on a crowd he's given a speech to, TED Talks or wherever else. And they paid money to be there. And he did this without their consent. And what does that tell you about Mr. Billy Ball Gates? What the hell is wrong with that guy? That was what, 13 to 16 years ago, whenever that was. I found the I found the video to it, where he was speaking. And I mean, that's crazy, folks. Our government officials aren't doing anything about it either. President Trump is turning into a little b-boy. He was all for the people. America, America first, and on. And now he's licking boots to Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu. And I'm a Jew, by the way, just so people know. Don't think I'm being a racist. I'm not. And I don't have a problem with really bombing the regime and getting rid of leaders in Iran. I have no problem with that. But We have the military power to open up the Hormuz ourselves and keep it open and do it on our terms, folks. But instead, you know, and I have no problem too if they're making another place where they have that plutonium and they have all that stuff where they can make a nuclear bomb and they know it. They can see a satellite and they maybe have operators down on the ground and report it back. Okay, fine. Send the Air Force and Navy pilots over there to use more buster bunkers and come on home. I really, too, the supposed agreement deal now with Iran. I'm trying to imagine Bill Gates, or excuse me, I'm trying to imagine. Sorry about that. I'm trying to imagine the Iranians. Really, you can't trust those people. Come on. I mean, we're going to end up having to bomb them some more and maybe even sending troops in like Trump said he would not do. Trump said he would only take a few days. Now we've been in it for what, a couple months? You know, I mean, we could go on and on about this nonsense. You know, I don't, to be honest with you, to control that area, I don't know how you would do it without troops, folks. And I'm not saying to do it. I don't, look, we have our own issues here. We have to get our ducks in a row in our own nation. I am very sympathetic and empathetic for that matter with the Iranian peasants. But we American peasants, I mean, we, you know, whatever. I think you get the point. I just, it really irks me to no end. You know, Trump is he's not the same president that he was from 2017 to 2021. I'm not saying I blame him for being a little bit irked and irritated. I would be if they chased me around for 4 years. Holy moly, those libtards. They're fascists, they're totalitarians, they're communists, they're socialists. They're a whole combination of things, folks. But here's the other thing, too. Has he had the right people arrested? No. You know, I mean, I watch I watch conservative channels like Benny Johnson, who licks boots to Trump. Professor Nez is even worse. They give good information, don't get me wrong, but they almost worship Donald Trump. The one that stays the best, probably, and even he brags up Trump a little too much, is Stephen Gardner. But he gives excellent information. But like when I see a Stephen Gardner video or whatever else, big wigs and the people have been arrested. Well, good. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm like, well, who's that person? I've never heard of him or her. I mean, look at my home state, Tim Walz, Tampon Timmy, my home state, Minnesota. He's still walking free. Of the 5th Congressional District, the representative there, that pedo worshiper, Chomo worshiper, Ilhan Omar is walking free. Is that right? Oh, you being funny. I hope you're choking there, Ryan. Welcome to Ryan Acadian. So the lieutenant governor, Penny Flanagan, Keith I believe it's Keith Ellison is the attorney general. Of Minnesota. They all should be in jail. I don't think they will be ever. You got California Governor Creepy Boy Gaseous Gavin Newsom is walking free. And there's more evidence now on him and his wife. We could go on and on about these known. And then you have the judges in the executive branch of the government. James Jeb Boasberg, always given those illegal mandates or court orders. He should be sitting behind bars. But all Trump does is go cry to a higher court, hoping that they'll overrule him. John James McConnell is another judge who's starting to give out illegal mandates. Paula Zinnes is another judge who gave a really pernicious order an illegal mandate. Over Kilmar Obrega Garcia, isn't that his name? He went to the country he's a citizen of, into their prison. That's up to them. And James Jeb Boasberg orders him in the middle of the air to come back when there's also proof on him that he was a child sex trafficker, a drug dealer, and a woman beater. And on and on. I mean, yeah, the ballroom, now that you mention it, was supposed to be paid for by Trump. Now he's putting it on us taxpayers, isn't he? It gets to a point. Look, folks, you're going to have to decide, and you need to take this into prayer. Let the Spirit guide you about how you need to deal with this. I've always said in the past, Trump was a better option than Kamala, the diva wannabe harass you. Her actual name being Kamala Debbie Harris. I mean, she couldn't climb her way out of a margarita glass. She can't do anything off script. She's a complete buffoon, and the borders would have been left open. The approximate 3 million that have been detained illegals would still be out on the loose. How many more millions would be coming through the border straight up? But now it's getting to the point, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if it did any good to vote. Trump, after meeting with China, Xi Jinping, a real autocrat, he's for China buying our land now. But supposedly he was against that. In other words, on a practical level, folks, we are on our own. So, that being said, yeah, I've talked about the AI surveillance. I've already been giving greetings in the stores, with the little cameras that are at the price tags. I've been giving them a greeting like this, except there's one finger sticking up. People are getting, I did a video how many hours, just a few hours ago, on people, that are not approving of this. I guess I could say maybe work on your local level. And if your public servants there don't want to do what you're telling them to do, because they're a public servant, maybe you need to run and kick that person out. I'm kind of going on a tangent now and I'm getting tired. So I think I've said enough, and I know it's like 400 hours Eastern Standard Time, and I should probably get some rest, do my push-ups and get some rest. So that being said, folks, I do appreciate those of you who watch this live at this ungodly hour, and for those of you who are, will be watching it later. So you all have a great, just take care, stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you new people that are subbing and listening to what I have to say. But I'm really starting to buzz out here because I'm getting tired. So that's a good cue for me to head out. Yep. In the name. And welcome to Amelie. So peace, shalom, folks. Take care. Stay safe. The Levite man is out of here.